Hey everybody, and welcome to Goals Week. So if you ever have had a goal where you feel like you haven't quite achieved it, well hopefully I'll provide some steps today that might be able to help you in setting goals for next year or maybe refining the ones you have. And for an example I'd like to take through this whole program is weight loss. And I think most of us can identify with that. At some point in your life you might have had a fitness challenge or need to lose some extra weight, and it's just kind of transferable. You might have a much more complex goal, but we're going to use that for our purposes today. So first of all, there are many frameworks to put a goal through, but I want to commend you because if you have a goal, only 3% of Americans have an intentional goal. And of that 3%, not all of them have a plan to execute. And so my goal today, my intention is that by the end of this video, you'll at least have a framework that you can apply. And the framework I'm choosing to apply is called SMART. You may have heard of SMART goals before. I'm going to hopefully give you maybe some additional bonuses at the end that could help you to refine this even further. But really, it's going to be SMART goals. So what's a SMART goal? Well, a SMART goal is specific. It's measurable. It's achievable. It's relevant and time-bound. And I'm going to break down each one of those as we go through this video today. So hold on to your seat. Hold on to your pants. I don't know. Bear with me. So this is what we'll talk about. So many people come to me as a coach and they've got hopes. They don't have goals, they have hopes. I want to have a better marriage. I want to get that degree. And I ask a couple questions, not even that deep, and they have absolutely no plan whatsoever to do it. It's just a hope. And it's great to have hopes. It's great to have dreams. It's great to have grand visions. But without something specific to achieve it, it's going to stay in the realm of fantasy. We want to make those fantasies a reality. So let's do it. So first of all, what do we start with? It's S, it's specific. You need a specific goal. So for instance, let's say you came to me and say, I hope to look good, to drop a dress size or whatever. You need to make that really specific. So let's say your goal is 15 pounds lost. So you say, I will lose 15 pounds. It might be losing a few inches off your waist, but whatever it is, we'll stick with pounds for now. You say, I will lose 15 pounds. That's what's going to take to get to that ideal goal. That is specific. It's also measurable, but it's not just measurable in that the weight you want to lose, like that's cool, like I want to lose 15 pounds or some inches off your waist, but it's also measurable when you break it down. In this case, when you take 15 pounds and find out how many calories equals about a pound, you can break that down into per day. You can also measure your workouts. I remember a long time ago, I had to lose weight. It's kind of a funny story and it's worth sharing. I had a transition from the military into grad school. I'm learning languages, which I had no idea I had to learn 2 languages as part of this graduate program. So I'm sitting there, I'm learning both languages, and to stay awake and focused, because I kind of have a squirrel brain, I grab Mountain Dew. And not just like any Mountain Dew, but I buy those giant bricks of 24 or 36 cans, and I would go through them on a daily basis. We're talking 16 to 17 Mountain Dews, in addition to eating pretty unhealthily. So I put on some epic weight. And it came to a point where after my second semester or so, I said, oh, well, I want to get life insurance for my family. I'm no longer covered in the government, so I'll get my own. And I was denied life insurance at 24 or 25. Now, why was I denied? Because I was so unhealthy. The nurse came and checked me, and I was overweight, high blood pressure, all these things. And I said, this has got to stop. So I set a really specific goal, and initially it was to lose 50 pounds in a year. I said, I'm going to lose this 50 pounds. And why 50? Well, to make myself feel better after that verdict from the nurse, I went and put The Simpsons on, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I watched, and I weighed more than Homer Simpson. And that was just shameful for me. So I said 50 pounds, like that'll get me below the Homer range, and we can work on it from there. So I began to run. So I set this big goal, which was specific. I could measure the goal along the way. I could also measure steps. I knew to hit that goal, I need to do 10,000 steps per day and some kind of a workout. So I put that into my plan and I measured it using something that would later become like a Fitbit or Apple Watch, but it was called the Body Bug at the time, which you put on your body and measured your steps and so forth, and calories and all the things. So what's the point? I was able to measure it in the macro, 50 pounds, and also the micro, how many steps am I doing? What's my calorie input? What am I burning? The next one needs to be achievable. I had a client come to me in the recent past and they go, I want to run an ultra. Now this is the initial session. You want to run an ultra marathon. You want to run that 80, 90, 100 mile race. Yeah. And I said, well, what's your fitness regimen like now? They replied, I haven't been in the gym in months. Okay. Well, what's your eating like? Well, I'm pretty overweight. We broke it down and found that that goal was so crazy for that person, it just would not work. It wouldn't work in their life, it couldn't fit in their life, and nor could it fit in their current schedule, even in the foreseeable future. So we took that 90-pound like fantasy and hope, or 90-mile, and brought it down to a 5K, which is like 3 miles. Now, that's realistic in their context. They need to start working out, start eating healthy, all those things. So 3 miles, very reasonable. 90 miles, maybe that's a stretch goal. That's something that could be achieved once you hit that small goal, which you're measuring and you're also achieving. The other part of achievement is this. If you set these wild goals, which I'm all for, I have some crazy big goals and dreams. But what I'd say is make sure that you hit goals along the way, because we want to give that psychological win that says, look, I can do it with these small goals, and then the next goal becomes more achievable. So for instance, if your goal this year is to run a marathon and you're not a runner, start with a 5K, kill it, then go to a 10K, kill that, maybe a 15 or 20K, whatever you have to do, or half marathon, kill each one until you get that medal, that psychological win. Because I've seen too many people say, I'm going to do a marathon, it's the first race I've ever done in my life. They show up, there is kind of a process to races, no matter what kind of race you do. And then they hit, like one person I remember hit 23 miles. So they hit it and they walked off the course. And they said, I just hurt too bad. Now, you don't get a half marathon medal for doing 23 miles. You didn't complete the race. So he had his shirt, but he didn't get a medal. He didn't get a psychological win. And last time I checked, that guy's not running anymore at all. So I want you to get the wins. So find a way to make it achievable along the way. So your goal so far is specific. It's measurable, it's achievable, and it also needs to be relevant. Like, oh my gosh, how many people come to me with these goals that are totally off the wall, not related to their life at all, or to their interests, or relevant. And so they come in and they're like, I'm a physicist, I work in artificial intelligence, but I really want to do this personal training gig. They go, okay, well, what's your life like? We break it down by hours. They're doing this thing that's totally irrelevant to their entire life. It doesn't fit in any way, shape, or form. It's not part of their long-term goal, or they don't want to transition from physics or whatever into being a trainer. It's just something out there in the abyss. Like, that's really cool, and it's a great hobby. But if this is your big goal, you have to see why. It needs to be what's called necessary, or have necessity to it. That means it's so important. Necessity just means it's so important that when you get out of bed in the morning, it's like the thing. I worked with someone who worked in basically rare diseases for the CDC. And when I talked to them, they get out of the morning, they're a PhD type, and they get out and they'd say this is why I'm awake. I'm going to save people's lives. I'm going to work on this, the Ebola thing, and I'm going to stop it. Like, that kind of necessity is like why you get out of bed. If this isn't something, your goal, your big goal, isn't something that's like, this is why I get out of bed. Like, I have a friend who works in the space industry, and he's trying to find a way to make achievable, low-cost flight up into space. And it's crazy. It's an amazing process. And for him, that's like why he gets out of bed. Like, this is his thing. Like, that's what it needs to be. It needs to be relevant to your life as well. So it's relevant, causes necessity, and it's important to you. Please don't pick goals that you're like, well, I think I should do it, because you're going to drop it. Like, life happens. Life's too important. Make it something that's so incredibly relevant to you that it's like, this is my life. This is who I am, and make it part of your life. The next part's time bound. Any goal requires two things. One, a time to complete it. So what's your goal to complete it by? I want to lose 15 pounds by tracking my calories, what's coming in, what's going out through exercise in 6 months. So by whatever today plus 6 months. That is a time-bound goal. You can't have an indefinite goal. That becomes a hope or a dream. So why is this so important? Well, if you have a time-bound goal, it creates this where you want it to be, but it also says when it stops. Because if you have a goal that's going on forever, so it's like the never-ending goal, it gets exhausting. If you've ever met people, and I will cheerlead you on if this is you, that you say, yeah, I'm going to get that graduate degree, and you've been churning for 10 years. I know 2 people have done this. It's totally exhausting. So unless you break it down. So if you say long-term goal, I want to have a degree, but the time-bound goal is I'm going to complete this course in 6 months. You got to find ways to say, I will do this. I'll have micro wins and macro wins. So the macro win in this case is getting the degree. The micro win is completing each class along the way. And that celebrates the success and also tells your brain that this isn't forever. If you come in and instead of having the broken down goals for each class, like, oh, I'm going to take one class and knock it out. If you just stay in that 10-year big plan, you will totally give up. You absolutely will, because it's exhausting. It's like the idea of the marathon for your brain. Like, how long can this go? Like, will this ever end? It also provides maybe more of a near-term release. What would I mean? I recently quit like all soda and alcohol for a period of time of about 30 days initially. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to stop all this and sugar for 30 days. If I had said to myself, like, I'm never going to have sugar again, I might just die. Like, I mean, no offense to anybody out there who's like anti-sugar, but I do love sweet things because I'm just so sweet. But what I do find is when I say at the end of 30 days, I get to have a chocolate. Or I get to have a eggnog latte if that's the time of year, or if that's your jam, or a pumpkin spice latte. It sets a psychological end to it. So that's smart, right? So I promised a bonus, so what would the bonus be? Like, SMART goals are great, but how can you make it an AIM SMART goal? A goal that you're kind of like, almost like you're pulling the arrow to hit. When we set a goal, it should really have 3 levels. And the top level, your top goal, like, what's the floor and what's in the middle. So in this case, you could set that acceptable, like, what's the bare, like, minimum, right? What's the ideal and what's the maximum? So in this case, so acceptable, like, let's say you're like, hey, my goal is to lose 15 pounds, but what would be really acceptable for me is if I lost 10 is totally acceptable. That's great. The second one is ideal. Ideal is 15 pounds. Like, that is the goal, but I'd be fine with 10. And then what's the maximum? What's the one that you'd be like, oh my goodness, this is so crazy. I'm like, woo. That would be 20 or 18, whatever it might be. Doesn't matter. But you set a goal tier structure of low, middle, high, however you want to call it. So today I just suggest this. Like, life's way too short to just wander through life. So whatever you're doing, set an AIM SMART goal. Don't just say, I want to have a better relationship. Like, no, set a specific goal. Like, if a relationship's important to you with your partner, your spouse, your significant other, set a goal. If fitness is important to you, don't be like, I just go to the gym. Like, set a goal. If your job's important to you, don't just wander through life. Like, set a goal, because you can achieve anything you want. And frankly, life is way, way too short to not. So I suggest this today. Go set an AIM SMART goal again and roll with it. And I just hope you have a spectacular day. And if you need help with a coach, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to a ton of coaches. Just press Google coach, but find someone that will help you get there. Because you don't want to say, oh, I'll do it someday, because someday's never coming. You got today, you have the future. We don't really know how much time we have, but if you can make a huge impact in your life, do it. It's not worth having a life that doesn't have impact. I hope you have a spectacular day, and thank you so much for listening and supporting me. And if you want more of this amazingness, I do provide a daily video on Instagram. You can follow me there, or you can follow me on Facebook, wherever you find me online. Hope you have a spectacular day.